Chapter 33 Surrender. Malik. Alfred spun them so he came out on top and threw Malik across the club, crashing into tables, shattering the glass they were made of. Malik quickly got to his feet, droplets of blood dripping down his face and over his chest and arms where his shirt had been torn. His wounds healed quickly, and he was back at Alfred, who shifted into a fog of mist. "Stand up, coward," Malik hollered. Alfred's mist disappeared and swirled upstairs over the balcony. "I haven't struck a nerve with you, have I?" He taunted and whooshed back downstairs in front of Malik, his hand at his throat, slowly backing him against a wall. "Because I would hate for you to die this way. It doesn't do what you did to Katrina justice. At least when I kill, I get my own hands dirty." Malik coughed as he knocked Alfred's grip off his neck and turned them. Malik used his arm to choke Alfred. "You should have seen Katrina's face when she knew she was going to die. I had her just like this. She had one hell of a fight in her, but I got her in the end." "No." Alfred growled as he coughed and used both hands to try and free his neck from Malik's arm. "You had no right to kill her?" "Oh, I had every right." "Your feelings be damned, Alfred." Malik picked him up and threw him on the floor as hard as he could. The tile cracked under Alfred. He laid there, blood pouring out his mouth and head, choking on his blood. "I wouldn't count on Vanessa killing me. She's not like Katrina. She's stronger. Don't think the rest of us pure-blood vampire families don't know what you and Katrina did to her own family. Vanessa was willing to die for her brother. What is it that was so honorable about Katrina? Vanessa is smart. She'll see the truth, and when she does, she'll be coming for you." Malik picked up again and bashed his face into the brick wall. "That's for Julius." Malik went to leave when Alec appeared behind him and snapped his neck. He woke up a few hours later and looked around. Aaron had just walked into the club. "Malik? What the hell happened here? Have you seen Julius? I can't get a hold him," he asked. Malik looked over to see the jar that had Julius' head in it shattered, and the head had been smashed. Had to be Alec because the brawl moved from the bar. Alfred was gone. Malik hadn't done any permanent damage. Not to mention they were unfortunately unkillable. They made sure of that when they created the hunters. Before he could stop Aaron from seeing the gruesome end of Julius, Aaron saw the smashed head. There was enough visible to see who it once was. "Alfred happened." Malik growled as he stood up. "They killed Julius and used him to drive Vanessa away from me." "What did they do?" "They killed Vanessa's parents years ago. They're trying to frame me so that she will kill me. So far, their little plan is working thanks to their ability of shapeshifting into anything they want." "Where is Vanessa now?" Malik shrugged. "Probably with her friend Riley, but I can't go to her. She saw a text from Alfred, aka Julius, show up on my phone. She ran before I awoke." "Do you know where the rest of Julius is?" Malik lowered his head in shame and shook it. "They just showed me his head in a jar. Alec and Alfred likely defaced it when they went to leave. They're going to pay for this." Aaron cried. "How? How can we make them pay for this? We can't kill them. They're the only pure bloods that can't be killed. Not even by Hunter." "You can't shut down now, Malik." "I'm not shutting down. A king knows when to retreat. We don't need any more of our men dead." "So what are you going to do?" Malik went silent for a moment. Had he been selfish this whole time? He loved Vanessa, that much he knew. But Byron had gone missing as one of his men, and for that he is responsible for not protecting his own. The last couple of days he'd spent with her were the most wonderful days of his life. No matter what happened, no matter how she felt to him, she would always be his little white rose. The girl had been through a lot, and he wasn't going to make her life any more complicated and messy than it already was. Vanessa would not lose anyone else, not if he had a say in the matter. Thankfully, Aaron understood when Malik was deep in thought, which is why he stayed silent as Malik went about closing the club. He would have to do some remodeling thanks to Alfred's need to make his life hell, but he wouldn't be worrying about the remodeling. He wouldn't be running Lust nor the city of New York anymore. Perhaps giving the city to the people was what he needed to do. Malik thought of Vanessa and everything she'd been through, everything he put her through. If she had the guts to stand in front of a vampire king as he's about to execute a crime punishable by death and plead with him not to kill her brother behind her, he could certainly have the guts to stand in front of a hunter that he loves more than anything in the world and let her end him. If that was what it took to get Alfred and Alec to leave her and Byron alone, then so be it. She would no longer have to choose between him and Byron. Though he was sure she already made her decision, Malik was now making the first unselfish decision in his life. "Aaron, please make a sign for the club that says, 'Closed for construction,' and you and I need to meet with my lawyer because I'm signing Lust over to you. The city." Let the people have it, Malik said with determination in his voice. Aaron looked at him with confusion in his brown eyes. Malik, what are you going to do? Malik flashed a smile that showed he had made up his mind and he was at peace with it. I'm surrendering to Vanessa for her to kill me. Chapter 34. What now? Vanessa. Riley stood there looking saddened. Including Byron? Including Byron. He can't live like this. My parents wouldn't have wanted that for us. So I'm giving him a mercy killing. Vanessa shrugged indifferently as she tugged on a bra and panties. Oh no, that is where I put my foot down, Riley said as she stepped closer to Vanessa. If you kill Byron, you'll have to go through me. Vanessa chuckled. Through you? Didn't my family invent you? No, they didn't. Riley sneered as she shook her head. I don't know what's gotten into you, but I'm not going to sit here and listen to you plot the deaths of everyone you and I care about. I suggested a shower to clear your head. Not congest it with this bullshit. First of all, they're not people, they're vampires. Second, I have cleared my head and now I know what I need to do. Malik took everything from me. And just what are you going to do when you kill Byron and Malik? You really think Alec and Alfred are going to buddy up with you? Because I promise that if you kill Byron, we will not be friends anymore. I will hate you and you don't want me to hate you, Vanessa Owens. And Malik? What's killing him going to do? It's not going to bring your parents back, and it certainly isn't going to bring Byron back to what he used to be. All you have is a dead man and a cold, lonely corner to burrow into when it's all over. Well, that sounds just perfect for my introverted ass now, doesn't it? Don't forget I was the one who was with you when you lost Byron. I heard you crying yourself to sleep every night. You don't want to be alone. If you did, you wouldn't have had me come with you. You wouldn't have fallen for Malik. Stop spouting your bullshit and tell me what's really pissing you off. I don't want this. I don't want any of this. None of this is fair, Riley. It's not right. Oh, boo-hoo, Vanessa. All I hear is boo-hoo, my parents died and I lost my brother and now I love the man who wanted to kill him. At least you got to know your parents. My aunt raised me and you were there when she died. All I had was you, and when I didn't have you I had Byron. Every day we waste listening to you whine. He loses a piece of his mind. And if Malik really did kill your parents, which I honestly doubt by the way, it wasn't like he did it to get after you. You forget he lost his family at the hands of your ancestor. Whatever beef you two have, you need to talk to each other. Vanessa's throat formed a lump as she tried to swallow that humble pill Riley just shoved down her. Damn it, she was right. Vanessa had been so focused on herself and her problems that nobody else mattered. That's what she loved about Riley. Vanessa was one who spent so much time with herself, that's all she ever worried about. Riley was there to reel her into the real world where everyone around her had problems, and no one was worse than the other. Just different. You're right. She sat down and tears welled up in her eyes. It doesn't matter what kind of mess this is. It all just is right now, and all I can do is decide how I move forward. But now I'm questioning myself. You should be after that little psychotic break you just had. Welcome back to the Vanessa that I know. Vanessa looked at her friend, her eyes pleading with nothing but truth to come from Riley. Truth she could handle. Why did I save Byron? Riley sighed and sat down with her. You're not a selfish person, V. I mean, you can be. But the day you knocked Maya out and ran to save your brother, that's who you really are. But if you're doubting that, then don't think, just answer. What were your intentions that day? I know Byron did so much for me, and saved me from myself when our parents died. I wasn't going to let him die for saving me again. He deserved his little sister to do something for him. I did the only thing I could think of. But yeah, I was a little selfish and I didn't want to lose him. That's not selfish. You love him and you wanted to save him. There's nothing selfish in that. And there's nothing selfish in loving Malik either. You may not know this, but since you came into the picture, Byron pointed out how Malik was nicer, more merciful. Really? Riley nodded. I don't know him personally, but I know love-struck eyes when I see them. And you and Malik definitely have them for each other. You should have seen the way your faces lit up when you saw each other last night. Tell me how that's a man that's playing you. The eyes don't lie, V. Say he did kill my parents. Is it sick of me to love him then? People can change, V. You're not the same person you were when you were 15. Malik may be immortal, but he's not the same vampire he was back then. So what you're saying is this is something I can look past? I believe we can forgive anything we want to forgive. If he did kill them, remember what could have driven his motive. You two falling in love could be what breaks the cycle of killing generations of people to punish them for their ancestors. Vanessa chuckled softly. You know why he called me his white rose? Why? He said that I was like a rose planted in a bunch of crap. And somehow I came out of it all this pure soul. Riley smiled. You are a pure soul and a strong one to boot. Vanessa smiled and put a t-shirt and jeans on. So, how do we save them? Chapter 35. Something's not right. Vanessa and Riley had made a pact to stick together and strategize how they were going to save Byron and Malik. She heard Malik's message and read the text. She did owe it to herself to talk to him and get some answers, so she called him up. Vanessa, Malik asked in surprise. I want to talk. Can we meet somewhere? How about home? The question stung her. Something in her gut told her it was all going to work out, but her gut insisted they don't go home. For whatever reason, they shouldn't be anywhere private. Take me out to dinner? You must know a million good places. All right, there's a fancy French restaurant on 5th Avenue. Meet me there tonight. Yes, I'll be there in a red dress. Vanessa smiled as he growled playfully in response and hung up the phone. She wasn't sure what to expect, but all the same, a talk would be had to sort some things out. Riley helped her with an updo that allowed curls to hang loose. They went shopping for a red dress that was elegant, with a high slit up her thigh. She wore red stiletto sandals to match. Red lipstick to complete the look. Vanessa was ready to meet Malik. She stepped out of the cab and held her silver clutch close as she stepped inside the restaurant. Malik was there, dressed in a suit and tie, and that cologne he wore. Vanessa's knees should have gone weak as he took her by the hand and escorted them to their reserved area. I rented this section for the night. We have things to talk about and we don't need anyone around. The gesture could have been romantic, but something was off, and she couldn't pinpoint it. This was Malik. What was her deal? Maybe she really lost some feeling for him? He looked and smelled amazing. Yet there was an energy coming from him that made her stomach sting in a way that told her she needed to be careful. That's thoughtful of you. She smiled. I really want you to know that I would never do anything to hurt you, Malik said with sincerity as he reached across the table and took her hand in his. Again, this made her stomach boil rather than flutter. I know you wouldn't. Vanessa was now forcing herself to smile. You would have done so by now if that was your intention. Malik stared at her with adoration in his eyes. You are everything to me. I hope you know that. So you've mentioned. She chuckled, trying to hide the uneasiness in her voice. If you're wanting me to say it back, I can't right now. I hope you understand. Of course I do. I just want you to know how I feel. I am so in love with you. Vanessa pulled her hand back when he went to kiss the back of it. Did you have my parents killed? Malik closed his eyes and sighed heavily. He made no eye contact when he admitted that. Yes, I did have them killed. You told me you'd forgotten the Owens name. You told me how that name wasn't worth remembering after you killed Katrina. So which is it? Did you really forget it? Or was that some line of bullshit you told me so I wouldn't find out that you set out to kill everyone in the Owens bloodline? Malik sat there with sadness deep in his eyes. Please Vanessa, you have to know I did all this before I fell in love with you. I turned Byron so that you would come out here one day by my permission and I would end you both. But I fell for you instead. I wish I could turn back time and give the parents to the woman I love back. Oh Malik, how your stories do not line up. Maybe this was the truth all along and she felt icky around him because she knew the truth before he said it? Vanessa looked at him and shook her head. But you can't turn back time and give them back. You owe me something though. I need to know how it happened. How did they really die that night? You wish to know? Vanessa nodded with certainty. Don't hold back if you're going to confess to me. I don't just want to hear that you did it. I need everything. Malik rubbed a hand over his face and rubbed his goatee. You know how it started with Katrina. I may have told you that I put the Owens name out of my mind and never thought of it again, but that wasn't true. My hatred for them festered over time. Killing Katrina wasn't enough. I needed you all dead. So when I found out Katrina had a son that grew up and married, I swore that I would let generations be born, but I would kill you all one at a time. I would make you all suffer slowly as Katrina did with my parents. The Owens line will never stop paying for what they did to them. Vanessa listened to this story, and she found she couldn't even look at him. Not because the confession was despicable, but because the story just didn't line up with what Malik told her before. Everything she knew about Malik, this wasn't him. From what she knew, Malik was a man of honor and integrity. He stuck to his rules no matter what. And he was a man of mercy, which is why his next statement told her he couldn't be trusted. When I went to kill your parents, I stood in the middle of the road and they slammed on the brakes, causing them to go headfirst into a tree. I pulled each of them out of the car and shoved them in the trunk of the one I was driving. Julius and I took them out in the middle of the woods. I tortured Daniel by killing Miranda first. I did it slowly, painfully. I chewed off her limbs one by one until the shock overcame her and she died. With Daniel, I ripped him limb from limb. His head was the last to go. Vanessa felt her stomach turn and she stood up. Please excuse me. She ran to the bathroom and doubled over the toilet, throwing up as though her body was disposing of every gruesome detail there was. So many questions ran through her mind. Was that really their bodies at the funeral? How did the media deem the sight of the car? And what happened to their bodies in accident? She pulled out her phone and called Riley. How's it going? Riley asked. He confessed everything. I just honked my guts out. I'm sick to my stomach around him, Ree. I can't do this, I have to go. You're not going anywhere, Malik said, standing in the doorway of the women's restroom, a sinister grin on his face. Chapter 36, Injected. Vanessa. Vanessa's mouth went dry. She looked up at Malik, not recognizing the monster behind his eyes. Malik, please. What are you doing? I'm going to reinvent you. Malik snarled as he bore his fangs and lunged at her. With Vanessa's newfound strength, she was able to push him off and run for the door. He grabbed her by the hair. She screamed out as the sharp electric pain surged through her and she was thrown back against the wall, crashing to the floor, landing on her stomach. Malik went up to her, pulled her up, and from behind, he sank his teeth into the throbbing vein of her neck. The teeth felt like sharp razors going in, and her blood, none was being drank. No, something was going into her veins so cold it burned. She felt the sensation go all the way to her heart. Then the teeth were ripped from her neck. She wanted to scream but she couldn't project anything. She faintly heard growling and crashing in the background. Her vision was blurring, and she swore she saw two Maliks fighting one another. One began to turn blonde and white, and as the venom hit her arteries, she passed out from pain. The last thing she felt was a strong pair of arms scoop her up and carry her away. She wasn't sure how much time passed. Hours? Days? Was she even alive? Did she want to be? She slowly opened her eyes and a warm, friendly face. Riley. Welcome back, V. Riley grinned. How long was I out now? Vanessa asked as she rubbed her head. Just a few hours. How did I get out of there? Riley gave her a water bottle and plopped down on the bed beside her. I was on my way. But Malik, he beat me there. The Malik you met last night. Wasn't him. Vanessa sighed as she ran a hand through her hair. Where is he now? The imposter or the love of your life? Vanessa shot her a glare. Both. The imposter was Alec. Malik came in and fought him. He brought you back here, but he figured you wouldn't want to see him, so he left. Vanessa didn't bother hiding the disappointment on her face. Her Malik came for her last night. Without so much as knowing where she was or what she was doing, things were still too far unclear. How was there an imposter when she was sure she spoke to her Malik on the phone? If there was one thing last night taught her, it was that to save both she had to trust her gut. If it helps, he kissed your forehead. Vanessa placed a hand on her forehead and sighed. Oh, how she missed him. But she needed to be sure of things. She needed to save Byron, save him, and kill Alec and Alfred. Riley, Malik or Alec bit me last night. I know Malik came in and pulled him away from you. Vanessa shook her head. No, Riley, he wasn't feeding from me. Malik once explained to me there's a difference between biting to feed and biting to inject. I felt something go through my veins last night. It was in my heart by the time Malik pulled him away. Riley looked confused and visibly shaken. You're in transition then. What does that mean? It means you're becoming a vampire. Vanessa shook her head vigorously. No, we have to make it stop. How do we make it stop? I don't think we can, Vanessa. I honestly don't know what to do. I've never heard of a hunter being turned into a vampire. I don't know what that entails. You weren't human when they bit you because hunters are supernatural too. Vanessa's eyes started moving as the wheels in her head began turning. If I was supernatural, maybe I won't be a vampire. Riley shrugged and looked at her with guilt in her eyes that she couldn't help her. Well, it's been hours and the venom was in your heart. How are you feeling? Vanessa shrugged. I feel normal, I guess. How does a bottle of water sound? Amazing. That's a good sign your bottle is right there. Try some and see how you feel. Vanessa looked over at the water bottle and opened it, taking a long swig. Maybe she was just that thirsty, but it was the most refreshing thing in the world at the moment. Vampires didn't drink water, did they? Riley watched her guzzle the water and sighed with relief. Well, you definitely enjoyed that. Vanessa nodded. Yes, I did. Now I could use some breakfast. How does a bacon gouda sandwich from the coffee shop across the street sound? Let me get changed and let's go get it. Riley nodded as Vanessa raided her closet once more. We are going to have to go clothes shopping, you know. Or do laundry. Vanessa teased. Yeah. You up for washing my clothes constantly? All right. Vanessa laughed and pulled a t-shirt from the closet. So what do we do about my getting bitten? Riley shrugged. Honestly, V, all we can do is watch and observe. I don't want to be a vampire. At least not by Alec or Alfred's doing. Riley arched a brow. So you would consider it? Vanessa shrugged out of the red dress and threw it in the trash. Hey, we paid good money for that. Riley protested. And I wore it on one of the shittiest nights of my life, and I got bitten and have to endure the anxiety of mystery side effects until I know what's going to happen. This dress is garbage. Okay, fair enough. Now back to this vampire thing. Look, I thought about it. How maybe it would just make things easier if I was one. What makes you want to be one? Vanessa tugged a pair of jean shorts on. Well, Byron is one, and Malik is one? Well, you know, being around a mortal being sort of makes you question your existence. If I stay human, what am I really going to do with my life? The second I got on that plane, a normal life was left behind. I can't be normal anymore. I can't go on, get married, and have kids. Not while Byron's a vampire. He wouldn't be able to have a relationship with my kids. And Malik. You keep stopping at Malik. I love him, okay? I am in love with Malik Cromwell, but right now I'm in do or die mode. Riley nodded. I get it. Here's my question to you. Are you heartbroken that you can't have a normal life after meeting Malik? Vanessa looked at her and shook her head. No. Chapter 37, Midnight Meeting. Malik. Malik sat in his room sipping a bourbon glass full of blood. He grabbed the wrist of the passed-out woman on the floor beside him and squeezed more blood into the glass and swigged it. He needed to start watching his back. He had plans to go meet Vanessa last night, but that damn Alfred snuck up behind him and snapped his neck. He saw that Alec was pretending to be him. He stood back and watched as they interacted. She was uncomfortable and Alec was being too damn obvious. He could see by her body language that she had to know it wasn't him. He listened in on their conversation with his sharp hearing. He growled low in his throat as he heard the details of what those two psychos did to her parents. How Alec could look at her and put that image of her parents into his head reflected the monster he truly was. He watched Alec follow her to the bathroom and proceed to attack her. Malik didn't even hesitate when he jumped through the window and lunged himself at Alec. He fought him, but Alec would have gotten him had Riley not shown up and backed him up. He rushed to Vanessa's side as her eyes rolled in the back of her head and she passed out. He pressed a hand to her chest, heart still beating. He looked at the wound on her neck, little blood was spilled, which meant he wasn't feeding. He looked at Riley as he scooped her into his arms and followed her back to her hotel room. He wasn't sure how to talk to Riley, so he just placed a kiss on Vanessa's forehead and left. He then picked up a woman off the street, knocked her out, and is now slowly drinking her dry. Normally he'd feed straight from the vein, but after being with Vanessa, he just couldn't put his lips on another woman's neck, even if it is to kill. FCK the Balthazar's laws at this point. He was an impending dead man as far as they were concerned. Aaron was trying to call him, but he wouldn't answer his calls. He advised Aaron to leave town, but Aaron being Aaron refused to leave. Malik warned him he could end up like Julius and he didn't care. He thought of calling Vanessa again, but what would he say? Hey, should we give last night another try? This time I promised to show up as myself. She needed time and frankly he did too. He wished he could talk to someone, and oddly enough he found himself calling Riley. Hello? Riley asked. Hi, it's Malik. I just wanted to see how Vanessa is doing. She's doing fine, she woke up a few hours ago. This may sound weird, but I'm kind of glad you called. Oh. Vanessa was bitten but not fed from. I know, Malik said. You knew? Why didn't you say anything to me? Well, I didn't think we were that close. You may have some people who want you dead, but I don't hate you, Malik. I'm on your side. Malik smiled and breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, Riley. I need someone on my side right now. About Vanessa being injected, what's going on? She seems normal. She drank water, wolfed down some breakfast. You don't happen to know any hunters that have been injected, have you? Unfortunately not. I didn't think it could be done. How long did it take Byron to turn? Usually one is turned within a few minutes. We inject the vein in the neck and it goes to the heart. Once our venom is in the heart, it pumps the venom through the veins. Do they still have an appetite when they wake up? For blood, yes. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Vanessa, but will you please let me know if anything happens? Especially if she's in danger. I promise I'll let you know. Thank you. Hey, there's another thing I wanted to ask you about. Go for it. The gun that Vanessa was given, it belonged to Katrina, right? Vanessa was given a gun? Yeah, after Alfred woke her up, he gave it to her. Oh shit, you didn't know. No, I didn't. But if it is the one that belonged to Katrina, I don't think it'll work for Vanessa. Not from what I understand with hunters and the weapons they're given. You would be correct. She went to shoot it and nothing came out. It was as though the gun was completely empty. A wide grin stretched across Malik's face. So, what you're telling me is Vanessa's been given a useless weapon? I don't know how she's supposed to kill you with Katrina's gun. I don't know either, but I think it's going to be in our best interest if you and I put our heads together. Oh. Let's just say with this newfound information I've got an idea for a loophole where everyone comes out on top, but you and I have to act fast. And Vanessa, she can't know what we're doing. Why not? Because she's got a terrible poker face. Okay, yeah, it's a terrible idea to let her in on this. Thanks to Alec and Alfred, my club has been destroyed and I have to do some reconstruction on it, so it's closed for the time being. Would you be interested in meeting there at midnight for the next few days while we devise a plan? Shame about your club, you had an amazing one going on there. I'll come meet you at midnight. But what should we do about V? Until we figure out what's going on with her since being injected, I don't want to leave her alone. I have a friend who can look out for her. We just have to make sure she's asleep by that time. I'll give her some melatonin gummies. She'll take down gummies like no other, and with the heavy dose, she'll be out for the night. Sounds great. The call was about to end when he heard heavy purging in the background and Vanessa crying out in agony. What's going on? He asked worriedly. Malik, Vanessa is throwing up some thick black fluid. Likvitar. FCK. What? That's Chapter 38. Not a vampire. Vanessa. Vanessa had felt fine the entire day. Food tasted better than ever, and she was enjoying it to the fullest. She didn't even realize Riley had stepped out and didn't seem to care. Suddenly nothing was sitting right. The worst nausea had come over her and she barely made it to the toilet. What came up was not food, not any normal color of fluid excreted from her stomach. This wasn't bile, not even blood. It was as though she swallowed liquid tar and she was throwing it up. It felt grimy in her throat, like throwing up wet sand. Vanessa! Riley screeched as she rushed into the bathroom. Vanessa looked up at Riley. Black sputter was all the way down her face. What's happening to me? I think you're throwing up venom. Listen, don't be mad, but Malik is on his way. I didn't know who else to talk to. Vanessa spit out some of the grimy fluid. You called him? Her tone wasn't angry. On the contrary, it was more on the hopeful side. Actually, he called me to ask about you. If Vanessa wasn't throwing up the weirdest and most surreal thing she'd ever thrown up, she might have had butterflies and a smile on her face. She wasn't sure when the vomiting would stop, but it did. Thank God. It wasn't even 5 minutes before Malik came pounding on the door. Riley let him in and he whooshed into the bathroom. V? Are you okay? Vanessa looked up at him. She looked like a horror poster child with the black mess all over her. I don't know. May I? Malik asked, gesturing the desire to examine her. She nodded. Malik grabbed a washcloth and wet it down in warm water. He knelt in front of her and carefully dabbed her face. It wasn't perfectly clean, but at least she didn't look as bad as before. Their eyes met as he began to feel her pulse under her jaw line. What happened? He asked softly. You or imposter, you bit me, she said, her eyes never leaving his. She wanted to sit there and get lost in them. It was a relief to see her Malik and recognize the soul behind them, to feel the touch that was so comforting. It was everything she wanted to feel the night before, but it was all replaced by negative vibes that stung into her very core. Being with the real true Malik made her want to jump in his arms and never leave. Somehow, despite the crappy night she had, and the horrific thing she was experiencing now, she learned a very important lesson. She could trust him, and she hoped that he would trust her too. I'm going to bite you. I have to know what's going on in your bloodstream. Vanessa didn't hesitate to tilt her head to the side. Malik's bite was going to be, well, his. The way he bit her never hurt. Malik smiled and bore his fangs, sinking them into her neck. He fed softly, tenderly, then slowly extracted his teeth. Your blood is clean. I can't be 100%, but I have a theory of what might have happened. What is it? Riley asked as she came into the doorway. Malik kept his eyes on Vanessa but explained everything to Riley. Vanessa is a hunter. She is her own supernatural being. Just like your body fights foreign substances, Vanessa's body recognized the venom as something that's not supposed to be inside her. So she's throwing it up. So what you're saying is I can't turn into a vampire? Vanessa asked, sadness in her tone. Malik blinked in confusion. I don't think so. Why they were even trying to turn you is beyond me. Why wake the hunter if you wanted a vampire? Riley shook her head. Honestly, that makes a crap ton of sense. The rejecting of the transition and all. Why Alec injected her. I'm just as lost as you are. I really can't turn into a vampire? Vanessa asked. Malik looked at her as though her repeated question was the confirmation he needed in order to answer it. Is there a problem with that, V? Well, I mean. She started to answer then shook her head. No, I'm just so relieved I can't be one. She forced a chuckle. Malik eyed her suspiciously. It sounds like a huge relief.
I'm honestly relieved.
Why are you relieved? It was Malik's turn to sit in the hot seat, and as usual, he made himself the hot seat. Because if you turn into a vampire, it's because I make you one. Not anyone else. Oh. Vanessa's face turned red. She suddenly grew nauseous again. I'm going to barf, she hollered as she doubled back over the toilet. Malik stood behind her and held her hair back. Vanessa would normally be mortified that a man as sexy as Malik Cromwell is standing behind her while she pukes her guts out, holding her hair back. But because this was Malik, she didn't feel ashamed that he saw her like that. It's as though there was a silent communication between them that these were the moments Malik wanted to be there for her. And if he had moments like this, she would be there for him too. How long am I going to be throwing up? Vanessa groaned as the episode came to a dry heaving close. Well, the venom went through your whole body. You could be down for a couple days. It always takes more time coming out than it does going in, Malik said as he rubbed her back. I feel like I've been thrown from the ceiling to the floor. Hard. She groaned. I'm sorry. I wish I could make it go away. Malik frowned deeply. How are we going to go forward from here? Byron still has time, he assured her. Not much left, but there's some wiggle room. I hope you're right because we don't have time for a setback. Malik shook his head. No, we don't, but we're going to get through this. Now come on, let's get you to bed. Vanessa looked up at him, her eyes pleading. Are you going to leave me tonight? Malik's eyes softened more than they already were. Isn't that what you want? Vanessa shook her head. Please stay. I'll feel better knowing that you're here. Of course. Malik smiled. I'll help Riley clean up the bathroom. You just shower and get some sleep. Vanessa stepped into the shower and Riley went about cleaning up the bathroom from her gut explosion. She saw through the blurry curtain the silhouette of Riley and Malik discreetly taking a sample of her vomit, and he left with Chapter 39 2 heartbeats. Vanessa. Vanessa wasn't stupid. It took her a couple of days, but she figured out that Riley and Malik were up to something. She not only noticed the secrecy, but something in her gut said what she saw was exactly how it looked. She pretended to sleep and Aaron would come in to look out for her, as she was still in unpredictable mode since Alec bit her. To both their surprises, a friendship was forming between them. It couldn't be that they had something crucial in common, the fact that both of them had someone close keeping secrets. Interesting fact she learned about Aaron: his full name is Aaron Calloway, and he came from a long line of pure bloods too. His family had branched off to others, so he wasn't as pure as the ones who marred within their families, but all the more powerful. He had been a close friend of Malik's since the creation of the city. They kept a good relationship with the people over the years. They shared the same idea of wanting to coexist with humans. There were once wars that took place centuries ago. It's why the Hunter line was born. She found out how Alec and Alfred had helped create it. There's a code: vampires can't kill each other, so the ones that were causing problems and fraternizing with humans the Hunters could go kill. She also found out that Malik was granted the city for the purpose of proving they could coexist with humans. So that's why he's so guarded. Malik is a good man. I wouldn't have stayed by his side as long as I have if he wasn't. If I may be honest, I'm relieved you stopped him from killing Byron. None of us really wanted to do that. But Malik is a man of his word and consequences must be neutral. Aaron explained with a smile. I'm really happy to hear that despite living in the world that he's had good friends. But why did Malik make him so nervous? Aaron laughed. He knew Malik could see into his mind. It's a gift we pure bloods have. If Byron thought of you, which he did frequently, Malik saw you. Byron was nervous about Malik meeting you because Malik's known to be a bit of a womanizer. I'm sure he's had centuries of all kinds of women. He mostly likes virgins. Vanessa scowled at this. Oh, so he has a never been touched or penetrated type. How will I fit into that category? Don't get upset. Aaron laughed. I've seen Malik in pleasure mode, but with you, it's not about pleasure. He's genuinely in love and wants the best for you. Vanessa felt her chest swell with adoration for both Malik and Aaron for being the outsider looking in, telling her how Malik feels. I want the best for him too. She smiled. So, what movie did you bring tonight? And did you get the chocolate licorice I asked for? Aaron chuckled and tossed the Twizzlers at her. Okay, this one you're going to love. It was made in the 1940s and the acting is actually hilarious. You wouldn't expect it to be a comedy, but it is. Vanessa looked at the DVD cover. Yeah, it looks like it's some old Frankenstein tale. Nah, it's so funny. It's one of my favorites. Aaron popped the DVD into the player and sat back in his spot on her bed. Vanessa tore open the bag of chocolate Twizzlers and went for the chocolate caramel bars in the nightstand drawer. They sat together enjoying the movie as Vanessa chowed down on her goodies. I don't know why, but I've been having these weird cravings lately. I don't usually eat this much junk food in one sitting, but it's like I can't get enough lately. Aaron looked at her with furrowed brows. I would slow down, your face is looking puffy. Puffy? She jumped off the bed and rushed to the bathroom. She looked in the mirror thoroughly and sure enough, there was a little extra puff in her cheeks. She ran back to the room and looked at Aaron. Oh my God, I am looking puffy. Calm down, V. It's just a little bit. Not a lot. Maybe stop while you're ahead? How about we order something from room service? Have you been eating dinner lately? I've been eating like 5 dinners. Are you still throwing up? Mostly in the mornings. Sometimes if I overeat at night I will. I just get this heartburn that's so. She shuddered. They looked at one another and a fact was becoming painfully obvious. Vanessa supposed she knew in her gut all along. The food cravings were a dead giveaway. But how could she be sure? When she threw up the venom she was queasy for a bit and it took a couple days to get it all out. But the vomiting did continue. But this time it was the normal kind. She was so sick of puking up food, it was so disgusting. Yet she craved it. There wasn't any odd cravings, but food was almost like a drug to her. Aaron looked at her, and they exchanged a silent agreement that he needed silence to listen. He furrowed his brows as he concentrated on her stomach. He looked up at her, and Vanessa's mouth went dry. Don't say it, please don't say it. But it was a truth now. Neither one of them could deny it. Pure bloods did reproduce amongst themselves. When was the last time you had sex? Vanessa shrugged. A couple weeks ago? And when did this start? Vanessa ran a nervous hand through her hair and began pacing the room back and forth. A few days ago. Going on a week now. I don't know how it's possible. But there are 2 heartbeats I hear inside you. What do you mean there's 2 heartbeats? Well, there's yours and then there's another one. Vanessa, I'm 99% sure that you're pregnant. Chapter 40. A missing piece. Vanessa. How in the hell am I pregnant? Vanessa's voice screeched. Well, when 2 people love each other, Aaron began. Oh, shut up, I know that part. But he's a vampire, Was the hunter awake when you did it? Vanessa nodded. That could be the loophole. We pure bloods can reproduce among each other, but because you're now supernatural yourself, it could be possible. We can't tell Malik. Aaron furrowed his brows. Why not? Because I want this to just stay between us while things get sorted out. I'm not even telling Riley. If anyone asks, I guess the venom just had a chemical reaction with my body rejecting it, and now I'm doomed to get fat. If Malik listens close enough, he's going to hear it. But Vanessa, you've got to take care of yourself. This isn't the time to be talking about being pregnant. I still have to figure out Alec's motive of biting me. I may have a theory at this point. Oh. You were talking to him in a quiet and secluded area of the restaurant that night he posed as Malik, right? There's a chance he may have heard the heartbeat and made an impulse decision to inject you. He was either trying to make the baby grow faster or kill it. I can't be sure. Kill my baby? Before I even knew I had one. It's just a theory, V. I will keep this between us, but on one condition. Vanessa groaned. What's that? You allow me to check on the health of you and the baby. If Alec was trying to kill it, something could be wrong. In the 60s I got a medical degree out of boredom. Vanessa laughed. You really are an old fart, aren't you? In the 60s I got a medical degree because I was bored. Be nice. I look your age, don't I? Vanessa squinted and scrunched her nose. Maybe 10 years older. Do we have a deal? Vanessa held out her hand and Aaron clapped his into it and they exchanged a firm handshake. Aaron brought her to his old medical office, which looked like a house, the next evening. He collected every medical gadget from the 60s up until the modern day. He was a medical geek. He had the latest ultrasound machine and he looked over things. He furrowed his brows in frustration. What's wrong? Vanessa asked as he pressed the camera further into her bare stomach. Aaron shook his head with worry in his eyes. I can't see the baby. What? Let me see. Aaron turned the monitor so she could get a better look and sure enough, all her organs were there but no baby. I'm still sure you're pregnant. I heard the heartbeat. Something inside you is there and alive. What if it's not a baby at all? Aaron rolled his eyes at that and looked at her. What else would it be? Vanessa shrugged. I don't know. She grabbed a towel and wiped the clear goop off her stomach and pulled her shirt back down. I know one thing for sure. Aaron wiped the goop off his camera and looked at her. What? She hopped off the table and grabbed her jacket. I'm going to pay Alec and Alfred a little visit. Aaron shot up out of the chair. Oh, you certainly are not. Oh no, I think it's time we had a little chat. I'm going to ask them what they know. If they knew I might have been pregnant, why Alec bit me, and what exactly are they hoping to gain from all this? If they want me to kill Malik so badly, between taking Byron and trying to do something to my baby if there is one truly there, I'd like to know how they're going to persuade me at this point. I'm not letting you go, Aaron said as he blocked the door. Vanessa shot him a death glare, and it must have been scarier than she anticipated because he shifted a little. Move. Aaron might have been intimidated by her look, but he didn't budge. I can't let you put yourself in danger. What's that going to do for your baby if you have one? The worst thing that could have happened to my baby has already been done. I won't let them hurt it. But as I said, if they want me to kill Malik so bad, they're going to have to motivate me some other way. What are you going to suggest? They offer you cupcakes, donuts, and hot dogs. I'm going to persuade them to release Byron. I know he has little time left and lately I feel like a sitting duck. Malik and Riley have the secrecy and now we do too. If I could just save one person right now, maybe it could be him. Aaron sighed and folded his arms across his broad chest. How will you persuade them to let him go? That's their only leverage. And if you're delaying doing something that they want, they may not kill you but they will hurt you, Vanessa. They already have. If you defy them any longer, Byron's going to die. So what do? I don't even have a functional weapon. Alfred gave me Katrina's gun and it doesn't work. From what Riley told me, every hunter has to have their own gun. Aaron looked at her and rubbed his chin and thought. From what I know about the hunter bloodline, a gun could be passed down from generation to generation. Vampires don't just pull one out of their A and bestow a new one anytime they've woken a hunter. Then why isn't Katrina's gun working? Do you have it with you? No, I gave it to Riley. She said she wanted to hold on to it. Well, I need you to try and get it back from her. Why? I trust her. I trust her too, but knowing Malik was the one to kill Katrina, I have a theory of what might have happened and why it's not working. Chapter 41. Unexpected Visitor. Vanessa. Vanessa woke up early the next day so she could take care of her morning tummy troubles and took a shower. Malik had brought her clothes, so she didn't have to raid Riley's closet anymore. She went to put some jeans on and grunted as she struggled to fasten the button on them. Damn it already? She groaned and switched to leggings. Looks like we're going to be best friends for quite a while, she said, patting her stomach. She thought about her ultrasound from the night before. How Aaron couldn't see a baby in there. But there was one. She was sure of it. Her intuition knew that she was indeed carrying Malik Cromwell's baby. She racked her brains trying to figure out how she was going to tell him. She would when everything was settled. One day at a time. One thing at a time. For now, her mission was to get Katrina's gun from Riley. Her and Riley went out to do some boxing. A routine they'd picked up during the day as Vanessa still had to fight and Riley had taken it upon herself to train her. Hey, do you still have Katrina's gun? Vanessa asked as she threw a punch into the punching bag. Yes, I do, Riley said as she held the bag still while Vanessa delivered a roundhouse kick to it. Any news on why it's not working? Sadly not, Riley said as she released the bag and went to grab her water bottle. That sucks, Vanessa said as she took a swig from her water bottle. I was wondering if I could have it back? Riley looked at her as though Vanessa just called her out on eating the last Twix bar from her nightstand. I'm doing an experiment on it. What sort of experiment? I think I'm close to figuring it out, so just let me keep it a little longer, okay? Vanessa tilted her head to the side. Riley, let's not do this. Let's not be those friends who keep secrets. I just want Katrina's gun back. What do you need it for if it doesn't even work? Maybe you're not the one who needs to figure it out. Katrina is my ancestor. Maybe I have to activate it somehow. Okay. But what makes you think I'm keeping secrets? Vanessa blew out a breath and grabbed a towel to wipe some sweat from her forehead. Because when you think I'm asleep, I know you're meeting Malik. Riley turned red and it wasn't because she was flushed from the workout. It's not what you think. Vanessa laughed. You get around town but you wouldn't do that to me. I know you. Riley sighed with relief. Fine, I admit Malik and I have been doing some experiments out at Lust since it's closed for the time being. Why didn't you tell me? Riley looked at her with guilt and sadness in her eyes as she tucked a lock of red hair behind her ear. We thought it would keep you safe. The less you know, the better. Safe from what? The fact Byron's losing himself? From the fact I have to kill Malik? How much more shit can be piled on? Malik's just worried his friend Julius was killed. Alec and Alfred killed him and impersonated him. Malik won't see it happen to Aaron or you. Riley, the only way we're going to win this is if we work together. Riley nodded. I agree. So what are you and Malik doing with the gun? Honestly, it's mostly him. Personally, I think he has his own plan up his sleeve. What sort of plan? Not anything against us if that's what you're worried about. Vanessa shook her head. I trust Malik. I don't think he killed my parents. In fact, I knew it the night Alec impersonated him and tricked me at the restaurant. I think you need to go back to Malik. Am I a burden? Riley laughed. Well, I mean, if you really want to know the truth, she teased. Vanessa punched her arm. Oh, Riley squealed. Sorry, not sorry. Vanessa taunted. They both laughed and Riley folded her arms across her chest. In all seriousness, he's just trying to give you space. But he really misses you and I know you miss him. I do miss him, Vanessa frowned. I just feel like everything is scattered right now, and every day I'm haunted by the fact Byron's running out of time. We all are. It's why we're working tirelessly on a plan all the while keeping Alec and Alfred at bay. I need to be part of the plan. You are, it's just you don't know your part yet. My part is to shoot Malik. Riley closed her eyes. Can you do something for me? Vanessa nodded. Yes, you know I will. I need you to trust us. I do trust you, I just feel like a sitting duck. I also have a confession. Oh. Aaron has a theory why it doesn't work. And it has to do with Malik. Really? Vanessa nodded. I know it has to do with Malik. It's why he has it. Riley. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I get it. You all are just trying to keep me safe. But I'm not the one that needs protection. You've been given a command by the vampire that woke you up. But Malik is smart and when he killed Katrina, he didn't just kill her. Vanessa furrowed her brows. Riley, you're going to tell me everything you know right now. Riley closed her eyes and sighed. I'm not doing that right now, Vanessa, she said sternly. Vanessa's brows arched at that. Excuse me. I asked you to trust us. Can you please just do this for me? Trust me, what we've got going. It's all going to work out, I promise. Vanessa sucked in a shaky breath, angry at Riley now. But she understood. Maybe it was best that Vanessa just put some faith into Malik and Riley. Okay, fine, I trust you. Thank you. Vanessa had failed to get the gun from Riley. All she could do was hope that their plan was smarter than Alec and Alfred. That night around midnight, Riley went off to go meet Malik at Lust and there was a knock on the door. That's strange, Aaron usually has a key and just comes in. Maybe he forgot it? Vanessa got up to open the door and her jaw nearly fell to the floor. Byron. He didn't look like himself. He looked pale, thin, and all around malnourished. He looked at her as though she were his first meal in weeks. Because she was. She screamed as he lunged himself at her. His hand covered her mouth and everything went black. Chapter 42, Katrina. Malik. Malik opened the door for Riley when she texted her arrival. Did you bring the clothes I asked for? He asked. Riley held up the bag and came in and she stopped dead in her steps, eyes wide as she saw the corpse of a woman that looked alarmingly like Vanessa, dressed in a 17th century dress. At least the hair and the skin were similar. Malik, what did you do? She demanded. Relax, Riley, it's not Vanessa. This is Katrina? He nodded. Yes, it is. How has she stayed so fresh? I didn't kill Katrina in the way anyone thinks. Riley furrowed her brows. Just how did you do it? I didn't drink her blood or anything like that. I wasn't brutal enough to rip her apart either. Before I went after Katrina, I did some personal research. All I did was fight her and I stole her gun from her. Riley looked at him in confusion. Wait, you killed her with her own gun? Malik shook his head. You know how the weapon works. It may just require a trigger to pull, but being shot by one of these. He whistled and shook his head. I know. It's gruesome what happens to the vampire. But you haven't answered my question of how you killed her. Because she's still alive. Malik shrugged. Riley's eyes widened. Alive?
Malik. I'm legitimately confused.
You shot her, yet here she is fresh and in one piece. Okay, I confess I didn't shoot her with it. But the serum inside it was used against her. It's why it's empty and doesn't work. Where the hell have you kept her all this time? My family's tombs. I only found it right she sleeps where they rest. Note to self, don't cross Malik. Riley chuckled. Malik wriggled his brows. Trust me, I knew there was a reason I kept her all this time. Alec and Alfred have no idea. So what are we doing with her now? I'm going to extract the serum from her heart, and she'll wake up. She's going to be the key in taking down the Balthazar twins. Malik explained as he took out a large syringe. He plunged it deep into Katrina's chest, into her heart, and extracted the blue serum. They stood still, waiting. Within a few minutes, Katrina's eyes shot open. They were just like Vanessa's. She gasped and shot up into a sitting position. Where am I? Katrina asked as she looked around. What century is this? Welcome back, Sleeping Beauty. It's the 21st century. Malik said as he patted her back. Katrina turned and shot him a death glare. You? She looked at Riley. Who are you? No one that's here to help you. Riley's tone was sassy. Malik flashed an exaggerated grin at her. What about me? Did you miss me that much? Katrina climbed off the table she was on and stumbled. Malik nor Riley bothered to help steady her. Careful. You've been asleep a long time.
Alfred?
Where is Alfred? Katrina asked. You're not seeing him. As they say in this day and age, you're going to be our little BTC. You will do what we say, and you'll do it with the widest smile on your face. Your language has become foul. Katrina scowled. Malik shrugged. What can I say? I've aged with the world. I won't do anything for you, Katrina said as she went to swing at Malik and fell forward. You do know your body has been asleep for 4 centuries, right? Will you tell me one thing? Katrina asked as she leaned against the table. Of course. Malik smiled. Alfred, is he? Very much alive and kicking, Malik assured as he patted her back roughly. What are you going to do to me? We're not going to do anything to you, Riley chimed in. You're going to help us. Katrina rolled her eyes. What do you want? Malik stood in front of her. Alfred believes you to be dead. In the name of coming after me, he is messing with some really good friends of mine. Even the girl that I love. Katrina looked at him with a fake pout on her face. Ah, Malik's in love? Malik was unfazed by her mockery. I am. With your relative. I don't suppose my relative could persuade you to show some mercy? You know, with everything Alfred's done, I unfortunately don't see that happening, Malik said as he reached up and patted her cheek. What is that you want me to do? We're going to take you to Alfred. See if he's interested in some kind of a trade. What do you mean, a trade? He's holding another one of your relatives captive. He's a vampire and he's slowly going mad. If Vanessa, who happens to be my best friend and Malik's lover, doesn't kill Malik, she's going to lose her brother, Riley explained. Basically, Alfred's taken some leverage after putting my Vanessa in a difficult situation, all because I had the audacity to destroy the one who killed my family. You're my leverage that Alfred has no idea that I have, Malik said. So, you're wanting to take me to Alfred in hopes to trade me for this relative of mine? Oh, she catches on quick, Riley mocked. Katrina never was smart, it's how I overpowered her. Malik chuckled. I'm standing right here, Katrina hollered in defense. Are you? I had no idea. Malik spat sarcastically. Riley held up the bag of clothes she brought. Change into these. Katrina grabbed the bag and pulled out an emerald green halter top and black skinny jeans. What is this filth? 21st century clothes. Put them on. Malik pointed towards the restroom. You can change back there. And if you even think about escaping, well, you won't get far as there's no windows. The other doors are barred up. I wasn't planning on escaping. I don't even know where on earth I would go, Katrina said as she staggered to the bathroom. She turned to look at Riley. How would I put these on? Riley rolled her eyes and looked at Malik. Should I really go help her? Malik shrugged. I mean, if she does it wrong, we all might see something we don't want to see. Good point, Riley said as she went to help Katrina get changed. Malik went to get the sample of the venom Vanessa's body rejected, and mixed it in with the serum. It was no longer light blue but now a dark blue. He felt his phone buzz in his pocket and saw Aaron was calling him. He answered it. Aaron. What's up? Malik, someone took Vanessa. Chapter 43, Byron's Fate. Vanessa. Vanessa woke up in a chair, a gag in her mouth, hands tied behind her back, and a very thirsty Byron chained up in front of her. He looked at her, growling, reaching for her. He looked like a zombie. She looked at him and she wasn't afraid. She was just sad to see Byron reduced to this. Were they too late? She couldn't stop her tears from coming out her eyes. We're going to fix this, By. She thought to herself. You're awake. A smooth voice spoke from across the room.
Alfred.
Of course it was him. She turned to look at him, her eyes projecting what she could not say. Just look at how pathetic he is, Alfred said as he stepped closer into the room. He walked up to Byron and stood in front of his face. Byron bore his fangs trying to bite Alfred. And Alfred stood there, teasing and taunting him. You might be too late, Miss Owens. Vanessa screamed against her gag and wiggled against her restraints. Alfred turned to look at her with a mocking pout on his face. Something you want to say? Alfred went over and got down to her face level. You're going to listen very carefully. I want you to kill Malik Cromwell within 24 hours or Byron here is gone for good. He then reached up and took the gag off her. Your turn to speak. Repeat what I just said. Vanessa shot him a death glare and spit some lint out of her mouth. You want me to kill Malik within 24 hours or Byron's gone. However, we have a problem. Byron already looks beyond repair. And that gun you gave me, it doesn't work. Alfred furrowed his brows. What do you mean it doesn't work? And Byron still has time. But not much. He better have time or so help me, Vanessa hissed. It's up to you whether he is saved or not. Now back to the gun. What do you mean that it doesn't work? I already tried to shoot it. It's empty. What's delayed you from coming to me about it? You know, between your charms and those cookies you brought to the last meeting, I can honestly say I don't know what kept me from coming to you. She spat sarcastically. Alfred reared his hand back and slapped her across the face. Hard. Blood began to pour from Vanessa's lower lip. He then grabbed her face and forced him to look at her. You did something with the gun, didn't you? Vanessa looked up at him. Yeah, I did. I pulled the trigger and nothing came out. Alfred released her face and licked the blood off his fingers. You almost taste like her, Katrina. Isn't that the tits? Vanessa sneered. Alfred wasn't listening to her. He seemed fixated on the taste of Vanessa's blood. Why didn't the gun work? He asked himself as he began pacing. It should have worked. Katrina was the last to use it. All the serum should have come back in it. Unless it didn't. He rambled as he continued to pace. Alec came into the room. The gun didn't work? Alfred shook his head. According to Vanessa, it was empty. What? The serum is spelled to return the weapon after it's blasted into its victim. Well, it didn't. If the gun was empty, that means we have to figure out where the serum is. It can't just not exist anymore. Hey dipshits, why don't you let Byron go, feed him some of your blood, and go kill Malik yourself? Vanessa said as she spit blood out. Alec turned to look at her with a confused expression on his face. How are you still human? You mean after you bit me? Vanessa asked with a bloody toothy grin. Yeah, about that. Somehow my body rejected the venom. Thanks for the tar sensation coming back up my throat and making me look like a horror icon. That was fantastic of you. Speaking of biting me, why the hell did you do that? Were you trying to turn me? Alex shrugged. I knew your body would reject the venom. Once it killed the baby inside you. Vanessa felt her heart sink to the floor. You knew I was pregnant? I could hear its little heartbeat while we were at the restaurant. I needed to prevent its very existence. You tried to kill my baby, Vanessa said as his eyes turned cold, dark, and that of a hunter. Alec clapped his hands together and pointed at her eyes. Yes. That look right there. That's the hunger to kill that we need to see from you. This isn't theater. If you killed my baby, I'm going to kill you. Alfred clicked his tongue and shook his head. You do that and Byron's gone forever. You need us. Vanessa looked up at them and shook her head. These vampires were truly monsters, who played games for the sake of their own entertainment. They were perfectly capable of killing Malik themselves, yet because her ancestor was killed by Malik, now she has to kill him. She was no more than a puppet to settle their grievances. If her baby was dead, which she didn't believe it was, maybe Alec was bluffing to get her to cooperate with them. She looked at poor Byron who just wanted some blood, and then something hit her. 2 or 3 could play at this game of leverage and manipulation. Byron is suffering because she has to kill Malik and she doesn't want him to suffer. That is what Alec and Alfred know. She now knew what she needed to do to spare some time. If they didn't have Byron to hold over her head, they had nothing. She looked up at them, blood still dripping from her lip as she flashed a devious smile at them. Her eyes no longer dark but remained cold as ice. You know what?
Let Byron die.
As a matter of fact, I'll just kill him myself. Chapter 44. Unexpectedly defeated. Malik. What do you mean someone's taken Vanessa? Malik growled into the phone. I mean I went to the hotel room to sit with her, and it was all torn up and she's gone. Aaron explained. Get down here to Lust. I've got something to show you. What about Vanessa? I'm showing you how we'll get her. Malik said as he hung up the phone and looked at Riley as she came out with Katrina, who was whining about how she felt naked and whatnot. Trust me, if I would have known who I was bringing clothes for, I wouldn't have bothered to pick out something cute, Riley said as she shoved Katrina toward Malik. Change of plans, he stated as he shoved Katrina aside. Vanessa's been taken. We go through with the plan tonight. Riley's eyes widened. What? They took Vanessa? I'm just as confused as you are. But they're not going to stop until I'm dead. They're likely holding her hostage to brainwash her until she kills me. Is the serum even ready to go? Riley asked. Malik shrugged. Only one way to find out. Aaron let himself into lust from the door that Riley came through. He took one look at Katrina and his eyes widened. Malik, is this Katrina Owens? Katrina sneered. In the flesh. Aaron shook his head in confusion. I mean, I had a theory she had to be alive since the gun was empty, but it's true. You didn't kill her. Malik shook his head. I thought it only right that she sleep where my family rests. Aaron looked at her with an amused look on his face. You were smart, Malik. I wanted to kill her. I wanted to rip her limb from limb. But I figured there was going to be a day where I needed leverage against Alfred, and so I decided to inject the serum into her heart and put her to sleep instead. Maybe you can still get your chance after we rip those Balthazar twins, limb from limb. We'll see. Maybe we'll keep her alive to grieve Alfred. Katrina stood there with her arms folded over her chest. Can I change clothes again? I feel completely exposed. Riley rolled her eyes. Nope. No time to. Malik grabbed the gun and a pair of cuffs. He grabbed Katrina's wrists and cuffed them behind her. What are these? She demanded. They're handcuffs. Something they use these days to capture criminals. Malik explained as he fastened them to be painfully tight against her wrists. Ouch! That hurts. Katrina cried out as she wiggled her wrists. We're all in some kind of pain. Now let's go pay a little visit to Alfie. Malik smirked as he patted her back roughly. They all went out to Aaron's black SUV. Katrina rode in the middle of Malik and Riley to ensure that she didn't escape. She gasped as Aaron laid his foot on the gas and peeled out of the parking lot. What is this contraption? And why are there lights everywhere? They all ignored her questions. She kept asking them and seemed intimidated by the speed of the vehicle, and no one took any sympathy on her. I'm going to vomit, she cried out. Oh, she might be carsick. Riley grimaced. Aaron rolled his eyes and pulled off the road. Malik, did you even give her anything to eat or drink since she woke up? Malik shook his head. No, didn't really think to, as I don't care about her. He chuckled. Riley sighed out of annoyance and reached into her purse for a protein bar and small Gatorade. Here, sip this slowly. This bar should help. Thank you, Riley, Katrina said with genuine gratitude. She looked at her, unsure of how to open the bottle. Riley took it and opened it for her. I forget you know nothing about this day and age. No, I don't. You seem to be the only one who cares to explain anything to me, Katrina said as she took a sip of the drink. Her eyes lit up. Oh, it's so fruity and a little salty, she exclaimed with delight. Riley laughed a little. Yeah, it's got electrolytes in it. It helps restore fluids back into your body. This is helping with the nausea. Thank you. Katrina offered a genuine smile. Malik shook his head. Don't let her fool you, Riley. If you knew what she once did to her own flesh and blood with Alfred, you wouldn't want to show her any sort of kindness. Who is to say my years asleep haven't humbled me? You'll never redeem yourself with me. However, I guess we'll find out when you see Alfred and he sees you. You feeling better? Aaron asked. Yes, I am, Katrina replied. Aaron nodded and peeled back onto the road. They'd reached the Balthazar Manor within an hour. Malik walked behind Katrina while Aaron walked beside her and Riley was in the front. They knocked on the door and a new maid in a French-made outfit opened the door. Lord Alec, Lord Alfred, they're here, she hollered. Alec and Alfred came to the door and Alfred's jaw dropped at the sight of Katrina. He wasn't granted the chance to gawk for too long as Malik spun her behind him, and he stood in front of her. Where is Vanessa? He demanded. Alfred looked at Malik, a touch of humble in his smug expression. What is the meaning of this? Who is the girl behind you? Malik shook his head and jerked Katrina back as she tried to make her way to the side of him. Vanessa and Byron. Now, he growled. I'm not giving you anything unless you let me see what you brought. Malik rolled his eyes. Katrina was never dead, he said as he pulled her back out in front of him. Here she is, alive and well, awakened from her 4 centuries-long nap. Alfred looked visibly shaken as he pressed his hands to his mouth. Katrina, Katrina looked at him, tears in her eyes.
Hello, Alfred.
Alfred looked at Malik. You really kept her alive all this time? I knew someday I would have to have some leverage against you. Never had to use this card until you ordered my Vanessa to kill me. Alfred shook his head, looking unexpectedly defeated. As though he just did something he now regrets now that Katrina was standing in front of him. We've done something to Vanessa. Malik growled low in his throat and Riley pointed her gun at him. What did you do? She said we should let Byron die, in fact she would do it herself. So we locked them in a room together to see if she'll actually do it. Chapter 45 Malik's Plan. Vanessa. Vanessa's restraints were removed, and Byron lunged himself at her. Thanks to the training that had taken place with Riley, she managed to break his neck and knock him out. As Alec was removing her restraints, she managed to headbutt him and a little of his blood spilled on the floor. She rested Byron's head in her lap, and she scooped Alec's blood onto her finger, touching it to his lips. Since he was knocked out, he wouldn't be able to swallow it. At least there was a little in his mouth. If he needed more, there was always the spots on the floor. She hated that was the best she could do for him, but it was better than nothing. She stood to her feet, her legs wobbled, but she persistently made her way to the door and picked the lock with a sharp object. She staggered down the long wide hall toward the entrance where Malik, Aaron, Riley, and some other woman that Alfred seemed shaken up about. Who the hell are you? She asked as she looked at Katrina. Malik looked at Vanessa and didn't hesitate to whoosh to her side. V, are you okay? They said they locked you in a room with Byron to kill him. I'm fine, who is she? Vanessa asked, still fixated on Katrina. I'm Katrina Owens, you must be the distant relative I've heard about. Vanessa looked at her with confusion in her eyes. Katrina was dead, right? How was she standing right there? Vanessa Owens, you must be my ancestor that's supposed to be dead, and the beef Alfred has. The beef? Katrina asked. It's an expression, Riley answered. Alfred stared at Katrina in bewilderment. Vanessa, Katrina is here, which means you are released from your duty to kill Malik. Malik turned to look at Alfred. What makes you think I'm just going to turn her over to you? Alfred went to grab for Katrina and Riley pulled her back, pointing her gun at Alfred's face. Not so fast. She warned. What can I do to get my Katrina? Alfred asked with sincerity. Alec rolled his eyes. Don't be so weak and willing, brother. You have lost centuries believing her to be dead. There's nothing that can be fixed or traded. Malik must die, and Vanessa will be the one to do it. Suddenly, Katrina turned and headbutt Riley in the face and took off running down the corridor. FCK? Malik growled and whooshed down in her direction. Alec and Alfred ran after them. Being a hunter, Riley too was able to heal fast, and she wiped the blood from her face. Aaron looked at her. You okay? He asked. I'm fine, we have to get Malik, he has the gun. Vanessa felt something in her back and felt around. Something was tucked in her pants, and she just now registered it was blunt and heavy. She pulled it out and looked at Katrina's gun. No, he doesn't, she said as she held it up. Ido. Aaron sighed with relief. He must have slipped it to you when he rushed to you. It feels heavy, Vanessa said as she observed it and lifted it up and down in her hand. He loaded it before we left, Riley said. Vanessa looked between them. This is it, isn't it? It's do or die now. Riley looked at Vanessa. Just make sure you do everything Malik tells you to do. Vanessa nodded. Okay. Let's go end this. They all ran down the corridor and heard the sound of a brutal fight going down. Vanessa heard Malik hollering out in pain and followed the sound to a massive room. It was an empty ballroom. She was horrified to see them throwing Malik around like a rag doll. Katrina was in some corner trying to get the cuffs off herself. Without hesitation, Riley fired her gun at Alec. The impact shot him across the room and out the glass doors leading to the balcony. He was barely hanging on as his body parts were scattered. Everything stopped. Alfred stopped hurting Malik. Aaron, who had Katrina in a chokehold, looked out at the balcony. Vanessa looked out at Alec. Blood was everywhere. It was a dark color due to the mix of venom. The scene was rather horrific, and it was the first time Vanessa saw a vampire in pieces. Alec's torso and head were all that was left of him. Riley actually shot him with her gun. She was shocked and grateful at the same time. Alfred dropped Malik and rushed to the side of his brother. Alec! He hollered with grief. Everyone made their way to the door to watch Alec take his last breath. Vanessa looked over at Riley, who was looking calm and indifferent. Malik growled at her as his wounds were healing. That wasn't part of the plan, Riley. He chastised. She turned and looked at him. Neither was it for you to get your kicked. So she shot Alec. What's the big deal? Vanessa asked. Malik looked over at Vanessa. The sight might be gruesome now, but it's going to take more than that to put down a Balthazar. Especially one with a twin. Suddenly, Alec rose to his feet. Everything was intact. And he had nothing but the bloodstains from being shot on his skin. Riley looked at him in shock and Malik turned to her. Run. Go find Byron. She nodded and ran out of the ballroom. Aaron stood there with a struggling Katrina. Get her out of here, Aaron. The rest is between all of us. Aaron whooshed out of the ballroom and now it was all down to Alec, Alfred, Malik and Vanessa. She looked up at Malik, tears in her eyes. What's going to happen? Malik turned to look at her with a confident expression on his face. Yet he looked terrified at the same time. Whatever he had planned he was not 100% on, but it was clearly the only one he had. He flashed an assuring smile as he balled a fist and held it against his chest. When I tell you to, you're going to take that gun in your hand and aim right here, baby. Right at my heart. Don't miss, you got it? As soon as you pull that trigger, you come running to me and let me take things from there.